We have
Awesome.
two other little pieces of news. I think they actually go together pretty well because it kind of talks about just esports in general and how I would say a lot of people are very uninformed of how esports works. It's not like I'm a fucking genius by any means, but the first thing is that Riot has raised the maximum LoL Esports contract to 4 years, meaning before you could only sign a player to a 3-year contract. Now you can sign a player to a 4-year contract. Once again, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I very much think people are like acting like this is not a good thing, and it like takes advantage of players. And I guess in theory, on the surface level, it kind of does, right? You sign a player who's really good and upcoming to a lower paid high year contract. But I don't know, in the last like couple of months, we've seen how many players are breaking their multi-million-dollar multi-year contracts, right? I feel like this doesn't change a lot.
No, it probably doesn't change that much. I think it is important to mention, like, it does suck that, let's say, I don't know, you're just about to turn 18, which I presume is the earliest you can sign a Riot contract. We could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
But you know, you're up and coming, and then you've signed a 4-year contract because you don't necessarily know any better.
Yeah.
I don't know. You've lost so much of your, I don't want to say prime, because I think in video games you don't like cap out early like that.
Yeah.
But I don't. You lost so much of your career, you know, to a contract that you may not have agreed, you know, to.
Yeah,
now
you might not have
then.
understood it fully, and then also just like you as a player, it can change so much. Like the game from month to month changes so much. Any given player can change so much, right? Like the right combination of X player on X patch could turn a middle of the pack jungler or mid laner or whatever it be to like a top 1 or 2 in your region. And you know, sure, it's nice to get a 4-year contract and like know you're set for 4 years, but it would also really suck if you got like, you know, onto a consistent 6th place team because you're just an okay player. You start playing out of your skull, you're, you know, a top 2 in your role in your region, and you're still getting paid the same as like the almost B tier support on the other teams.
I guess like the way. Sorry, go ahead, Nick. You got.
I was just gonna say, maybe that's what the Players Association is for, to I don't know, protect them from predatory stuff like that. So.
I just like I feel like, because every single Reddit comment was that, oh, now teams can take more advantage of players and stuff like that. And once again, I'm not an expert by any fucking means. Like I don't work in esports. I just kind of like read about stuff and kind of like try to understand stuff to the best of my knowledge.
Wait, I thought you didn't know how to read.
True. But no, like, what people don't fucking realize is that teams don't make any fucking money, guys. Like, the pyramid fucking goes, publisher makes all the fucking money. Like, so much fucking money, right? League of Legends, Riot Games, right? They make a fuckload of money. And then it goes down to players. Players make the second most amount of money.
Tencent makes a lot of money.
Yeah. We'll get into that in a second, because that's why the second one like leads to this, right? So like, publisher makes the fucked amount of money. They just make everything, right? All the attention's on their game. They make tons of money. They get tons of more players. Yada yada yada. Players make the next most amount of money. Players make so much fucking money in esports. It's crazy. Then it's tournament organizers. Tournament organizers don't make a lot of money. Tournament organizers barely can run tournaments a lot of the time, right? They're trying to turn profit with as many sponsors as possible. That's where it kind of gets weird, because Riot is the tournament organizer for League of Legends. So they're now the top of the pyramid that makes all the money, and then also the like bottomish part where they kind of get fucked because hosting tournaments isn't a very profitable thing overall, right? And then at the very bottom of the pyramid is fucking teams. Teams don't make money in esports. Like, out of the 10 LCS teams, I think the only team that turned a profit I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before, was TSM. And it's like, esports teams, dude, they don't fucking make money. They're all long-term ventures. Like, don't get me wrong. The goal isn't for them to make money every year. The goal is for them to fucking create a brand and then be evaluated as like multi-million-dollar companies and then sell. But no LCS team, no LEC team makes money. And I feel like people are like acting like this is going to allow teams to take advantage of players. Like, it's so crazy to me. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to ever side on the on the side of like organizations.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think like I think just the length of it is like a little long.
Oh, for sure.
Especially where like I don't know, we've seen players like Ryoma come over from OCE, have like one bad year, and then that's his entire career, right? Like I don't know. I'm just saying 1 year is a really long time in League.
I guess like the other part of it is that we've seen in the last year a bunch of players sign 3-year contracts, and they're all out of them this year. Meaning Sword Art, Perks, like just there's tons of players that sign these contracts, and then you get shuffled around, right? Like the team does have the rights to sell you wherever, but like you also have a lot of power, especially as a top player, to be like, no, I want to go somewhere else, and your happiness is 100% dependent on like how the team's gonna perform. Like,
well, I think you identified the important part for top players. I think top players have that negotiating power, but I don't know if like lower tier players who are signed to these long contracts, which maybe they shouldn't have signed in the first place, but did or whatever. I don't think they have that negotiating power where like, okay, if you don't adhere to your contract, like we're just gonna send you to the academy team.
I mean,
like yeah, right. Like I think that Nick, you're making a really good point that Perks, if he says I'm unhappy on this team and want to move, like they'll probably sell your contract because you're gonna go from having a best in role player to an unhappy bottom 5 player, or at least they're not gonna perform as well as you want them to. But if you take someone who's already like fringe and they're saying I'm unhappy, they'll say, cool, enjoy the bench.
Yeah. No, I completely
we'll
agree.
hold on to you for 2 more years and you'll sit on the bench.
I just think it's very important to see both sides of it, because like I really don't think a lot of people understand that like esports teams don't make money. And also
and that's something I wanted to circle back to before we go into the next point is like Nick, you made the point that I think all of us are generally on with that, like we tend to side always with the players and not the organizations, and like particularly the bigger the organization, the more you become skeptical of it. And I think that's where like this pyramid is really problematic, is that people are pointing blame towards the teams who are on the bottom rung. Like if this is a 4th tier 4th tier pyramid, they're in the bottom in 4. Like Riot Games is 1 and 3, and they make the rules for tiers 2, 3, and 4. Like they're the ones enforcing this contract length. Like they're the ones who establish import rules, contracts, like money caps, sponsorship rules. Like they have control of all of it, and they're making all of the money. Like that's who we need to go to this. That's who you need to look at. It's not the teams, it's the top of the pyramid who has control over everything and all the money.
And I do want to like just like as we transition to our other topic, like talk about that it's not like boohoo Riot's like getting fucked or whatever. Riot's making, or also like fuck Riot, they're making too much money, because Riot did say in an interview literally today that League of Legends Esports still hasn't turned a profit, and that's okay, which makes sense. Like I don't think people understand how much fucking money it costs to run shit. Running LCS, LEC, LCK, LPL, all their fucking international leagues, worlds events, MSI. Dude, it's hard to fucking turn profits on shit like that. And I don't know. I very much don't think a lot of, or at least the casual fan, I would understand that like League doesn't make money through esports. But if you like think of it logistically,
I also think that
makes sense. Like,
it makes sense, but I also think that it's one of those weird things. I don't think a lot of people understand the business aspect, that like as much as everyone always wants to tell you like profit is everything, like at a certain size and at a certain length of time, like profit doesn't matter. Right? Like you see it with so many of like the fucking big startups over the last like 15-20 years of like Instagram wasn't profitable, and like Twitter and Facebook, like the company's not profitable while they're shoveling in like billions of dollars in investor money and revenue that then they're putting into expenses. Like there's other things than just profit, and again, like this is a long-term thing, but again, for the people making it, right, it's like if if esports isn't making a profit, but all of the casters and the administrators are making crazy money with great benefits.
Yeah.
Their brand is getting out there. More people are playing the game. Like, there are all of these other, intangibles that aren't going to be on the balance sheet. But, like, those are also the reasons why they can make Arcane as big as it is, and why League is a game that's going on 10 years and picking up speed.
Oh, I completely agree. Like, if you look at League of Legends esports as an advertisement, which I know is a fucking crazy thing to say because like they put hundreds of millions of dollars into it. We just talked about earlier in the show that between all their Legends, like all their Runeterra games, they have 180 million players monthly. That's the most out of like any fucking video game, guys. And that's a lot of people. It's a lot of eyes. That's a lot of like people putting money into the game. And if Arcane, the show that they're also putting probably hundreds of millions, I mean not hundreds of millions, like tens of millions of dollars into advertisements for, probably hundreds of millions actually, the more I'm thinking about it. If that can draw anyone who's already not in that ecosystem, that's a huge fucking win. And esports like is doing their best to do that, but I don't think a lot of people understand that esports isn't that fucking profitable for most people.
I think there are very few. Yeah, I think like the international is just about the only one that probably profits.
Do you even think they do? I don't know. Like, I guess, like...
I think they have to just based on the sheer value of the prize pool.
Yeah, they're also not
I think that's...
crazy of production, right? Like, their production value is not insane by any means. Like, for...
No, it's pretty high,
yeah,
but it's not like... It's not like they're buying advertisements on... Like, they're not like building cafes or anything like that.
Yeah, they're not getting fucking Imagine Dragons to create a song and then play it live and shit like that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and it's one of the many things that like Riot does, because like the ultimate profit revenue for this company is people buying RP for skins. Like that is the vast majority of the income of Riot games.
Yeah.
And again, while you can definitely make a point where it's like, yeah, but me watching Worlds doesn't make me buy skins, but it keeps you engaged with the game, and eventually you buy skins.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, how many people have you seen like watch Worlds and then are like, fuck, like this makes me want to play the game so bad.
Yeah. I want to start playing again.
Like, damn, I want to play
more than I have been.
Yeah.
I want to try that.
Jinzillion.
I want to play Zillion. Like, it keeps you engaged, and I mean, obviously, as someone who does a League of Legends podcast every week, like, they are very good at hooking people on their product, and then keeping that hook in you for 10 years in my case. And I am in a spot where I fervently consume anything Riot games at this point, right? Like, they've done it, they've got me. And that's the point, is that they get you in and they keep you in, and 10 years later I'm producing content for a free-to-play game that I put money into to get JPEGs and a bunch of time in to get a high rank, and
then a ton of people listen to us talk about this game. I completely agree. I just think it's like, it's not as cut and dry for a lot of people. I very much think that people looked at this as like, teams are fucking taking advantage of people, which they can with stuff like this. I just think that typically teams are very much not fucking making a lot of money. Like, the teams that do well, like financially, are teams that are very well diverse outside of just like esports themselves. Like, esports themselves aren't profitable. They are a very good way to get your name out there, though, right? Like, 100 Thieves is like obviously the hoodie fucking org or whatever, right? But like, guess what? League of Legends gets a lot of eyes on you, and if your org gets a lot of eyes on you, you can sell a lot of other stuff that does actually make money. Like, but it's not esports by any means.
And the teams themselves, like, they're for the most part not going about it trying to take advantage of players, and if that's happening, like, scummy orgs are going to take advantage of players whenever they can, in any way they can. And changing a contract length max from 3 years to 4 years isn't going to change anything about that. Like, if you're a shitty org, you're going to be a shitty org, and they're going to try and take advantage of players. And like, the players org will hopefully do everything they can to prevent that. But ultimately, that's still gonna happen, and this won't make a huge difference.
Yeah.
That being said, though, like I don't understand 4 years, man. Like
4 years is a long time. Yeah.
4 years is such a long time in the context of like professional League of Legends. Like the amount of players, if you took like every player at Worlds 4 years ago and said how many of them are still like relevant and competitive today, like you'd have a good number, but like probably half.
The only thing I can think of at all, and this is like once again playing devil's advocate, trying to simp for the companies, fuck the players, that's me, that's who I am. No, is like the only team that I would say, and I wouldn't say taken advantage of is the right word, I would say has created their org in a way where they rotate through new talent and sign them to longer contracts so that they build up the talent and then have a very cheap roster is Cloud9, right? Cloud9 very often picks up rookies, makes them into really fucking good players, and then operates at a very low cost overall, and then eventually like flips these players for like multi-million-dollar deals, right? It's happened many a times, right? And we've heard, like, I think that's the only time ever in esports that I've heard like, oh, these players, like these star players, are not being paid very much compared to players of their caliber, because of it, right? But also, it kind of allows Cloud9 to actually invest in fucking rookie talent. Maybe someone like Cloud9 goes, oh, now we can like pick up even more rookies at longer contracts, not to hold them in contract hell or whatever, but like we're going to have them for a long time. We can develop them, and then we can actually still have them under contract so we can sell these contracts to teams once they're like an investment, right? And that, once again, in this starry fucking world that I'm imagining, where I'm a fucking team organization simp, could allow for more rookie development in theory, right? Or it could just make it so that you fucking players are in contract hell and it's awful. But I'm just saying, like, I do think there's potential.
There's a world where, let's say, C9 takes advantage of this and pulls 30 players and it is running like a B, C, D, and E team and like running internal brackets with different iterations of these teams, and like developing all of this internal talent, trying to get them up to a point where they can put them on the A team, and like, you know, okay, great. Like all of these players now go from maybe being a sub on a team to like they've got a locked in 4-year contract, and if they get better or play well enough, maybe they can see, you know, the big leagues, so to say. But
yeah, and Cloud9's not fostering. Cloud9 doesn't want them all.
To take
they just want to, like turn profit on like contracts, and that could be a positive thing for the ecosystem. I'm not saying that it will be that way. I'm just saying that like it's not always a doom and gloom type thing.